Record to the cloud.
I'm here. Hello.
Hey, how you going?
I'm good. I'm half asleep, but I'm good.
It's late there, eh?
Oh, it's not really. It's only 8:15. I've just
Oh,
done
yeah,
too many
not too bad.
workouts today.
How are you, Lynette? She's connecting to audio. I think there's a couple of people, but just maybe not on video. So what we'll do is, and that's fine that they're not on video because this is being recorded for people that,
Oh, yeah.
missed the live. We'll talk about sleep and stuff first, but then we'll answer any questions and stuff because we obviously inside the NYM Club we know the importance of sleep and how it affects our day to day, especially you ladies with your menopausal symptoms, how it exacerbates that. We'll talk about that, but we'll also address any questions because we've got a couple of questions that come through that people that might not be able to see sort of the live they can watch later. So I'm coming through to you ladies, okay, right? I'm just going to double check that I'm coming through to the support group as well. Yeah, awesome. Fantastic. Let me just double check that sounds okay. Fantastic. Yeah, there it is. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, like with sleep, we always want to start with understanding the purpose of it, right? It's not just about, recuperation. It serves obviously multiple purposes that are essential to your brain, to your body. And I want to break down a few of the most important ones because we know that generally sleep is for restoration, right? Every single day that your brain accumulates metabolic waste, whether it's, the thought process through work, whether it's through thinking through stuff, it's creating metabolic waste as it goes about these kind of normal neural activities. Now, this is completely normal. But then when there's too much accumulation of waste, there is, short term, there's sort of kind of brain fog stuff going on. But then if it's chronic accumulation of waste, then you can it's been linked to things like Alzheimer's disease, right? So the question then is, how do you get rid of that metabolic waste? Well, there's a lot of things, right? But sleep plays an important role in kind of the cleansing of the brain, like the cleaning completely of the whole gray matter inside, and these fluctuation the kind of toxins that we have during waking hours can be flushed throughout that period, and that's why we try and encourage fasting where we can. But it's so much more adept at trying to tackle those kind of things inside the kind of sleep cycle, right? It's actually like 2 times faster than during the waking hours. So how it occurs is really remarkable. So what happens is when you're sleeping, the brain cells they'll shrink by like 60%, and it allows this kind of the waste removal system called the glymphatic system to take out the trash, exactly like we do every single week, or you should do every single week. You take the trash to a particular thing, and the result is a cleaner house, a cleaner environment. And for you, it's a cleaner brain, right? The brain's restored during that sleep. You wake up feeling refreshed. You wake up with a clear mind. Obviously, we're going to talk about sort of brain fog stuff towards the end. But so that the first purpose is restoration. And then the second purpose is memory consolidation, right? People talk about, I've got really short-term memory stuff going on. Like I can't remember where I put my keys. Sleep is so crucial for memory consolidation. It's the process that maintains not just your short-term memories, but your long-term memories. So when you have insufficient or you have fragmented sleep, you go to bed and you sleep for an hour, you wake up, you sleep for 2 hours, then maybe you can't get back to sleep. It's going to hamper your ability to form concrete memories, facts and figures and emotional memories. So that's a big one. And obviously a lot of people that are struggling inside the big support group, we get things under control inside the NYM Club, but inside the big support group, we have people struggling with brain fog, we have people struggling with memory issues, we have people struggling with weight, which is the third thing. Sleep is paramount for your metabolic health. Now, when you sleep 5.5 hours a night, there's a lot of studies compared to 8.5 hours a night, let's say. This study was done on 8.5 and 5.5. The lower proportion of the energy you burn comes from fat, while a lot more of it comes from carbohydrate and protein. So that's not good, right? We obviously want to be pretty efficient at burning both fats and carbohydrates. We don't really want to utilize protein as much for energy consumption. We want to use that for muscle mass formation, the integrity of tissues and skin and things like that. We want to save that for protein. We don't want to be using that for energy output, things like moving, walking to the car and stuff like that. So what that does is, if we sleep poorly, say we sleep 5.5 hours, it predisposes us to, more fat gain, muscle loss, and then obviously continuation of that would be, potentially type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, basically the menobelly as well, osteoporosis, osteopenia, things like that. So we have these insufficient sleep or abnormal sleep cycles, and they're going to lead to eventually insulin insensitivity, metabolic syndrome, which leads to those things. So it's quite scary, right? But we know that sleep is better, right? We know it's critical for your health. We know it's critical for your mental health. But how much do you need, right? Because generally speaking, it's important. We know that, but it's free as well. But how much do we really need? Well, there was an experiment by University of Pennsylvania and Washington State University, and what they began doing was they put together, people who had been averaging. There was 48 people who'd been averaging, 8 hours sleep a night. All right. Then they put the subjects into two groups. Right. So the first group had to stay up for 3 days straight without sleeping, and the second group had to sleep for 4, and so they slept for. So this first group, they slept for, they stayed up for 3 days. The second group slept for 4 hours a night, right? And then there was the third group, which is slept for 6 hours a night. And then the fourth group was slept for 8 hours a night. So there's 4 groups altogether, right? In the final groups, there was 4, 6, and 8 hours sleep. And then obviously there was sleep deprivation in the first one. So these sleep patterns, they track them over 2 weeks straight. What they do is they put them in a sleep clinic, and they just obviously force them, because if you just say, I slept 8 hours, there's no sort of real data that can be ascertained from that, because you could have just napped. It wasn't really honed in on. But in this, it was, they were watched, and if they're falling asleep, they're prodded and stuff like that. So what happens is the ladies that were subjected to 8 hours of sleep, they displayed no sort of, memory, cognitive decline, no attention lapses, no brain fog, no motor skill issues, picking up stuff. It was fine. All of these things are fine across the 2 weeks. However, the groups that were in 4, 6, they just, 4, 6 hours sleep, they steadily declined each passing day, and it was cumulative. Obviously, the 4-hour group performed the worst. The 6-hour group didn't perform much better, to be honest. But there was 2 notable things. First, what happens is sleep is a cumulative issue. So what we have is something called sleep debt. And it has a neurobiological cost, which is going to accumulate over time. So like, for example, after 1 week, the 25% of the group that slept for 6 hours were falling asleep at just random times throughout the day. Just like, I'm just knackered, absolutely knackered. After just that, and that's 6 hours a night they were having. That's probably more than some of you get watching this. So if you get 6 hours sleep per night for 2 weeks straight, your mental and physical performance, declines to the same level as if you have stayed awake for 2 days straight. All right, that's how scary this is. And the second aspect to that is you don't realize that your own performance declines. So you become accustomed to this new suboptimal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they had them do is they had them grade themselves on, like, how do you feel you're going? What's your performance? And they're like, I just feel like when they did this self-assessment, they were like, yeah, it feels okay. I feel tired, but like I feel like my performance is pretty much the same. Actually, they were just constantly getting worse day by day by day. Because what you might have seen, experienced as well, is that we're poor judges of our own performance. We're poor judges, we our own self-critics as well. But even if we're going through specific things, we're going through specific tasks. In this study, they were going through specific tasks. They thought they were performing exactly the same, but the performance decrease was massive. And that kind of brings about a question of sleep deprivation and what cost it has to you day to day, month to month, year to year, right? Across, with your relationships, with your work stuff, with your fitness, with your health. And the irony of all of this is that a lot of, I've suffered from some level of sleep deprivation in the past, but we all suffer from inconsistencies in our sleep, and no one's ever perfect with their sleep. But those drop in performance that we don't realize are going to potentially ruin us if we don't get a handle on it. Right? In the US alone, the sleep deprivation across businesses and stuff, across health, is $100 billion a year lost in effort, efficiency, performance. Sick time, people taking sick pay and stuff like that. And unless this is why I don't subscribe to that notion of work hard, sort of play hard thing, because it's only doing me or the individual that's doing it a disservice at the end of the time. We are trading, for example, if you enjoy Netflix till all hours of the day, right, and you say you go to bed at 1:00, right? At what point what's the trade-off there? Because it doesn't require, obviously it's addictive. Maybe you're watching a series that's just like, I need to watch the end of this. I can't wait. You're trading that time for an expense in performance, and when I say performance, I'm talking energy levels, I'm talking the clarity of mind, I'm talking your motivation, your get up and go. So what is that trade-off worth of that extra hour of Netflix or something, which is going to obviously hamper your sleep thinking? So these are the questions you've got to ask yourself. But then we have to understand one time will affect you, but the accumulation of stuff is going to be even worse. But when does that start accumulating? Does it start accumulating after one day? When do these performance measures start to decrease? Is it just like if I have just one Saturday night, big night, a couple of wines or something, is it going to massively affect me? Well, not the first time, probably not. I mean, if you start to have consistently less than 7 hours, you're going to start to consistently perform less optimally. We should be in this sort of menopausal phase, you should be aiming for at least 8 hours a night, right? I would argue closer to 9 for most of you. And it's really important, because one of the things in menopause you have a poor ability to handle is stress. As estrogen drops, you have these buckets of stress that you just can't deal with as efficiently. So we need to put different stress protocols in place, right? There's the theory of cumulative stress is basically, imagine your health and your energy are a bucket of water, right? So in your day-to-day life, there's things that are going to fill your bucket up. Sleep is one of those main inputs. You've got good nutrition, you have meditation, you have stretching, you have laughter, and you've got like all these other forms of recovery. Dancing might be for you and stuff like that. So this is all, filling your bucket. And then there's also forces that are going to drain water from your bucket. And these are outputs like, going to the gym, going for a run, stress from work, stress from relationships, stress from the extra, the business that you have, or other forms of stress and anxiety, and the forces that drain the bucket, they aren't all negative. Obviously, the running and the gym and stuff is still a stress, but it's what we call a hormetic stress. It's a positive stress, but it still drains your bucket. Now, to live a productive life, it's going to be important to have some of these things, flowing out your bucket, working hard, doing home workouts or something, or going to the gym, or, work, producing something of value at work that you're proud of. They're draining your bucket, but it's something that's fulfilling as well. But these outputs are cumulative, right? So that little leak that effectively we have, imagine we have, going to drain the bucket. It's going to drain the bucket because that sleep couldn't be filled up. That bucket couldn't be filled up by sleep. So you've drained a bit of that, a bit of that energy, a bit of that. Let's use the water analogy. We've drained some of that water, so we're starting to run closer to empty. So when you have this, you have this cumulative stress, and a little leak is fine, but like if you're losing, say, 100 mils a day, a net loss, then obviously that's coming further and further down. That's a significant water loss over time. That's a significant stress load over time. Now, the way to keep your bucket full is, number one, you have to, well, you've got two options, really. You've got to refill your bucket on a regular basis. So that means making time for yourself, making time for sleep, making time for recovery, making time for you, because you should be number one. If you are in a better position yourself, you're feeling fantastic, energy is fantastic, you're happy, that's going to kind of, oscillate into other areas of your life. So make time for yourself, make time for sleep recovery, or you don't make time for it and you'll let the stresses in your life accumulate, drain your bucket. Once you hit empty, your body's going to force you to rest through illness, through a breakdown, or through some sort of thing. So recovery is a non-negotiable. It is like either you make time now to rest and rejuvenate, or you are going to be sick and injured later. So the goal is to keep your bucket full. So we've talked really about the cumulative stress. So if we have a series, let's say we have 2 nights of poor sleep, that's gonna have an impact on how we feel. But we've got the question before: can I catch up on the sleep? And extra sleep has been, I don't know, probably people saying, "Oh, I'll have a lie-in on the week and catch up on the sleep," and sometimes it can remedy some of the negative effects of several bad nights sleep, and just a little bit of a couple of extra hours. It can help. But there's a lot of new research that says that catching up on that sleep, for example, on the weekends, it can bring about, sleepiness, like daytime sleepiness, because you kind of adjusting your time zone effectively. Imagine you wake up at 7 a.m. every morning, Monday to Friday. You're super tired. You go to sleep at normal time, but you wake up at, say, 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, right? You've had 3 hours extra sleep. Effectively, you shifted from the UK to, maybe sort of Turkey time zone. So this is how our bodies work in the circadian rhythm. So you can. The good thing about the catching up on the sleep is it will return your inflammatory levels back to baseline, but your cognitive performance doesn't rebound. So you have that daytime sleepiness, you have this cognitive decline, but the inflammation levels do rebound. But what that really means is if you are not getting enough sleep during the week, do not put all your eggs into the Saturday sleeping. Don't depend on the sleep-ins on the weekends to restore that focus, that energy, and have you feeling, fan-debbie-dozy. Because the only way to keep those levels of performance high is to make sure you are consistent with your sleep every night. So it doesn't mean that you shouldn't even try and catch up on sleep. But I'm not saying that. If you're already sleep deprived, definitely try and get some extra hours, get some extra kip. But the best thing to do really is, for both the immediate performance and the long term, is prioritize your sleep every single night, not just on the weekends, not just Monday to Friday. Prioritize it every night. Have a specific time zone on the evening, on the morning when you go to bed, within half an hour. Even if it's a non-work day, wake up at the same time. We had this question of I'm going to read some of the questions out towards the end, but we had this question of how do I fall asleep fast? And people will talk about nightcaps, I'll talk about that in a second. People talk about nightcaps, people talk about specific medication, but they don't do the basics right. They don't even consider the basics because the basics aren't sexy. So towards your bedtime, you need to start to develop a power down ritual, right? The light from the computer screens, televisions, the phones that you're watching, it's going to hinder the production of melatonin. That basically means your body isn't preparing the hormones it needs to enter the sleep phase. Specifically, it is the blue wave of light that seems to decrease melatonin production. And we get that from the sun, we get that from our screens. So sometimes if I have to work late, I'll use something called flux on the screen. It takes out the blue light, completely changes the way the screen looks, but it will not suppress that melatonin production for myself, right? It's more important for you, ladies, more important for you. So develop that power down routine, shut off all electronics, maybe an hour or two before sleep, especially if you're struggling. I would start with, between that 2 hour mark, start to read candlelight, maybe near your bedside, but nothing that's kind of too bright, like the lights around me here. Read a book, because the perfect way to learn something, and it's going to serve you. It's going to serve you by looking after your sleep, right? So, that app that I use is Flux. It's f.lux, and it just basically reduces the brightness of the screen closer to bedtime. So that's one way. Use relaxation techniques, journal. There's a lot of research that shows that 50% of insomnia cases are stress related or emotional related. So find outlets to reduce your stress, reduce your bucket. You're going to often find that sleep will come as a result. It will come better. A lot of methods that we use, obviously, inside the MLM Club: daily journaling, breathing exercises, meditation, exercise, keeping a gratitude journal. That's something simple. Write down something you're thankful for each day. I think that it's something that people don't even. I just don't do. I'm just gonna readjust my legs. I do want to talk about how to improve the sleep quality and duration. I think obviously the second part is going to be exclusive to MYM members, but if you want to sleep better, because this is going out to the support group as well, but if you want to sleep better, you want to boost your performance, there's effectively 3 levers that you can pull to give yourself a boost. There's intensity, there's timing, there's duration. Now, intensity refers to how well you sleep. It is the percentage of sleep you spend in slow wave sleep and REM sleep, and that largely determines the quality of your sleep each night. So timing refers to when you go to bed, what time you go to bed. This factor is massively, massively important for 2 reasons, right? First, when you get to bed at the same time each night, it's easy for your body to develop these good sleep habits. And secondly, the time that you go to sleep should be in accordance with your circadian rhythm. We talked about circadian rhythm. It's roughly a 24-hour cycle. And it's important to make sure that is in sync. That's why I say go to bed at the same time on weekends, even if it's not a work day. So the intensity, the timing, and the duration. So the duration refers to how long you sleep, and that is simple. How much time do you spend sleeping each night? So how can you use the 3 levers to sleep better? So when it comes to intensity, the truth is there isn't much you can do. Your body yourself largely manages the intensity of your sleep cycle. How much you spend in slow wave sleep, how much you spend in REM sleep. For you, it adjusts automatically. So it's based on how much time you spend getting sleep, what you're exercising consistently. Are you smart about the lights in your house? How much daylight do you get? Sunlight touching your skin? How's your nutrition? These are going to indirectly improve sleep intensity, but those are the lifestyle stuff are the only things that you can do to improve intensity. So some of it is largely genetic. The good news is that it simplifies things to you, because that means that because your body manages the quality of your sleep on its own, you only need to focus on 2 factors, right? Timing, when you get to bed, and duration, how long you're in bed. So if we make another assumption, then we can simplify the situation even further. And if I assume that you wake up at approximately the same time each day, then if you wake up at approximately the same time each day, then your sleep duration is basically determined by when you go to bed, right? So if you get to bed earlier, generally speaking, you're going to end up sleeping more. So you improve. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So sorry?
Perfect sense.
So you improve the timing and you improve the duration as well. So the practical punchline really is that, timing is probably perhaps the most important of those three levers of sleep. The intensity of sleep is managed automatically by your body. So we can half forget that if we're looking after our nutrition and our exercise and stuff. So the duration of your sleep is largely dependent on when you get to bed. Assuming that you wake up at the same time each morning, on these crazy shift patterns. That means getting to bed earlier, more consistent time is critical for improving the quality and duration of your sleep. Right? I want to kind of leave you with sort of some habits for better sleep. I know that Lynette and Debbie watching, you know this. But it's always nice to reiterate that you want a few simple ways that don't cost anything. It's just get outside into direct sunlight. It's a bit harder in the Northern Hemisphere, especially in the UK, in the winter. So, but you will still get some sun exposure through the clouds. You need to get at least 30 minutes of sun exposure in the day. It's going to be slightly less in Australia because the sun is stronger, but I'd still aim for sort of 15 minutes a day in Australia. One of the things is closer to the evening, just turn out the lights. When it starts to get dark outside, we need to dim the lights in the house, reduce that kind of blue light or that full spectrum light, because it's going to mimic that sun setting. And the body knows this. This is what circadian rhythm is all about. One of the biggest things is avoiding caffeine as well. Towards, I wouldn't have any caffeine at 1 p.m. if I'm struggling to sleep. Removing caffeine from your diet is a real quick win if you're really struggling with sleep. You can have decaffeinated coffee. These days, it tastes just as good. If you can't go without your morning cup of coffee, that's fine. But no coffee after sort of 1 o'clock is my recommendation. Caffeine does wear off, but it has a half-life. So imagine if you've got 200 milligrams of caffeine running through your system at 1 p.m., then it's a half-life of 4 hours. So by 4 p.m., did I say 1 p.m.? Yeah, 1 p.m. So by 5 p.m., 4 hours later, you've got 100 milligrams in your system. And another 4 hours later, 9 p.m., my maths is good, then you've got 50 milligrams in your system. So you've still got caffeine running through your system. It might not be as big a dose. I use those numbers for simplification, but you get the gist, right? It's still in your system as you head to bed. People go, I had a coffee, it was only 10 hours ago. Yeah, but it's metabolizing that quite slowly. It's got a half-life of like 4 hours. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, don't normally mention this one, but smoking, tobacco, whatever. It's obviously we know the poor health issues that comes with it, but poor sleep is another one. If you don't have any personal experience with tobacco use, but have, got friends that do, get them to stop straight away. It literally doesn't serve them one iota. I think the thing that we overlook as well often is the bedroom. Bedroom is for, sleep and intimate time only. It's not designed for you to have all the lights on, watching movies and stuff like that. It should be a dark, cool, quiet place for you to snooze. Don't make it a multi-purpose room, like I've got my laptops over there, I've got my electronics all over here and clutter. It's just kind of navigating that kind of simple architecture around that room is so easy. So to make sleep kind of the only thing to do and not distracted by stuff that could be in there, TVs and stuff like that. So you go there to sleep. And a couple of kind of natural sleep aids are exercise. We know there's too many benefits to mention that right now, but when it comes to sleep, exercise is going to make it easy for your brain, for your body to power down at night. All right. If we are talking about being overweight or obese, even, it's going to absolutely wreak havoc on your sleep patterns. The role of exercise becomes only just drastically more important as we age. So if you are a fit, middle-aged, menopausal woman, you are going to sleep significantly better than a friend that is overweight. One caveat to this is, obviously, if you're really struggling to sleep, don't exercise too close to sleep, because it will peak cortisol, and then that will just kind of suppress your melatonin production. So then you won't find it easy to fall asleep. So try and exercise towards the beginning of the day, between that first kind of six or so hours in the day, so you can get a restful night's sleep. There's, what other things should we talk about? Temperature is around 19, around 19 degrees. 18 to 21 degrees Celsius is a perfect temperature. So if you do have any sort of aircon on, pop that on. Don't make it too cold. Don't make it too warm. Imagine like a cave. This is where this is the perfect ambience, it's a steady temperature. It's cool. It's dark. It's where we would have gone to get some kip. Sound, obviously, quiet space is good. If peace and quiet is hard to come by in your neighborhood or anything like that, then you can control, you can use some white noise app, like a fan or anything like that. You can use earphones to create some sort of white noise. Oh yeah, I did mention alcohol. I did say that people use alcohol as a nightcap. I think that it's a slippery slope, because alcohol is, having a drink before bed is, it does help people fall asleep. But while it makes people easy to fall asleep, what it does is it increases that sleep pressure. It actually reduces the quality of the sleep. So it delays that REM cycle. So you don't get proper deep sleep. So you fall asleep faster, fantastic. But it's possible you're going to wake up back feeling fully rested. It's probably best to actually improve sleep through all the other methods that I just mentioned, because effectively alcohol is a sedative, and sedation is not sleep. So what will happen is you will be sedated for a period of time and not well rested for a period of time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Well, my final thoughts are, before I get into kind of a quick Q&A, is that cumulative sleep debt is a barrier between you and you feeling your best, your superwoman self. Obviously, if there's anyone watching this that's not in the MYM club, they want to find out more about what we do, just drop us a message. I think that the answer is pretty simple. In our very, remarkably underrated productivity obsessed culture, it's get more sleep, focus on the basics, focus on the times that you go to bed, not what you can take to improve your sleep. Focus on what time you can get to bed. I'm just going to quickly open up some Q&As if anyone's got any, and double check the thingy. Just going to see if there's anyone. Do you have any questions, ladies, on the Zoom?
Lynette, we can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, Lynette.
There we go. Now, the only thing is, I do struggle to sleep right through, because I wake up at least twice a night to go to the toilet. That's my only problem. I love my 8 hours sleep. I normally try to get more than that, but
that's because of water intake, though, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to knock your water intake, taper your water intake off towards the evening, depending on what time you go to bed. Imagine if it's 10 o'clock, you have to taper it off at 5, and then I would only have small sips if it's about thirst.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be a lack of, you drink a lot of water, so it wouldn't be that you're thirsty. It's probably just habitual that you're drinking throughout the night, and then you'll probably have a tea or something like that, or some other beverage.
Yeah.
If it's that, if that fixes it, then it's easy. A lot of the time, as your estrogen drops, you become prone to more UTIs. Now, this is it's common, but it's not well known. A lot of ladies think, oh, just keep going to the bathroom, it must be menopause. It could be just an undiagnosed UTI. The chances are it's probably not, and it's probably just you drinking too much water, because I know how much you put the water back. So just taper it off towards, like I would, if you go to bed at say 9 or 10, from 5 p.m. onwards, no more solid, like no more of your sort of jog. You know what I mean? Just go little sips if I need it, or a cup of tea and stuff like that, and then cut it off completely an hour before bed. That's it. Just going to see if there's any more questions. I'm
Hi,
pretty sure.
Dee. Hi,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Janet, how are you?
I have been here for the whole time. I just wasn't sure how to get onto the Zoom. So I've
That's
been
all right.
listening live on the group.
No, it's perfect.
I did post a comment on the group saying about we all want to get 8 hours sleep, but what about night sweats? So my sister struggles desperately with night sweats, and it really, really hinders her sleep. So she goes to bed at a sensible hour, but she said because she's sweating and it wakes her up, she really struggles.
Yeah, it's like a loaded question. There's so much to unpack there, because night sweats, the biggest thing I can say is the individual overweight? If the individual's overweight, then they're going to have a poor time at, thermoregulation. If they're not, then you need to identify trigger foods for the night sweats, because flushes come from, things like alcohol, caffeine, potentially spicy foods, but it's generally, they're the common ones. There will be a couple of other ones that are unique to you that will trigger hot flushes either throughout the day or night sweats on the evening. But fundamentally, if you are looking after your nutrition, you're not overweight, then the only culprit would be stress.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if she's overweight, then the first port of call would be to lose weight. Otherwise, it's not going to be. There's no other way. You can eat fantastic, you can and still be overweight. You can exercise and stuff like that, but that weight issue is still going to cause potentially hot flushes. We've had people that have got to their target weight and still flushing mad. And then you look at the diary, and there's known trigger foods in there. So I'm like, it's up to you. You either there's a trade off there. Do you want a bottle of wine on Saturday and wake up flushing throughout the night and Sunday with brain fog and stuff like that? Or do you want to have maybe a glass or so, and you might be able to cope with that? There's a different tolerance level for each individual. Any other questions? I think I've got one in the comments. Karen Barras said, she said, "Hey, do you need any tips on how I can sleep for more than 2 hours and stop myself from being too tired to do anything?" I think I addressed that in the chat, because I think the reason that for example, Karen Barras is her cortisol is spiking at the wrong time. Her cortisol must be spiking at, I don't know, 1 or 2 common thing. Your cortisol spikes at like 3 p.m. It shouldn't do that. It only does that if your circadian rhythm is out of whack. So this is why you need to get the bookends of your day, the time that you wake up, the time you go to bed, solidified within the sort of half an hour period. I think I've got one more. Someone just said, need help with sleep. I know that. That's why we do this. Yeah, Susan said as well, it would be interesting to just see the videos, awake around 4 times at night, flushes and sweats. Cool. Cool. So we've got like a part 2 for you MYM ladies, which we'll do sort of next week. Is there any other questions? Because I don't think there is coming from the group. I can see people watching, but you know how people are. They just like to find out the information. Some people maybe don't want to share. Yeah, I just saw your comment, Janet. Cool. Any other questions before I let you go? I've kept you too long, to be honest. My apologies.
Yeah, it's past my bedtime.
Go to bed, Devin. You probably already worked out for at least an hour and a half or something today.
No, I usually go to bed at 9:30.
9:30, yeah, it's good. It's a good time. Early riser as well, ain't you?
Yeah, I get about 8 to 9 hours sleep.
Awesome. You need it with the amount of exercise and steps you do.
Oh yeah.
Crazy cat. Does anybody else on this Zoom watching? Because obviously, if there's any on the comment section, I'll just go and answer them later. Does anybody on this Zoom got any other questions? I can see Leanne's in, Tina, Maria. You're welcome to, if you don't want to ask questions now, that's absolutely fine. Just send me a private message or something, or comment inside the group in the little thread, and I'll ask it. Or it's all right. Send me a private message. It's fine. But that's all then. Great. We'll do part 2 inside the NYM Club next week. And if there's anything that you ladies need from me, just let me know.
No worries.
All right. Go to bed, Debbie.
Thank you, Dean.
I will. Thank you, Dean. That was great.
No worries, Lynette. Cheers, Debbie. Thanks, Janet. See you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye.
See ya.